G'day, welcome to Dan's Model Bench and to another review. And this one's going to be on the Vortex Electric Tattoo Ink Pigment Mixer Stirrer Nail Glue Polish Liquid Shaker Machine Saving Time Tattoo Accessories Supplies. Bet you weren't expecting that one. The goal here was to buy as inexpensive a Vortex mixer as I could find and see if that was good enough to do the job for us modelers. My target was this before said multi-purpose tool that I picked up from AliExpress for just $26.77 Australian with free shipping. That's around $17.60 US or €16.39. In the box you get the mixer itself, a power pack with support for multiple voltages from the wall, and an adapter in my case for Australian power outlets. Operation is simple, there's no on-off switch as such. You plug it in and it's activated as soon as you press down on the top with your paint bottle. For testing I chose two paint sets that have paints that tend to separate fairly badly when not used for a few months. The first is a lacquer paint set from Ataka. The paint sprays beautifully, but every time I go to use it I end up having to mix the paint first. With all my paints I add a ball bearing to help with the mixing, but even so, if you're doing this paint by hand, you risk your arm dropping off. The second set is from AK Interactive, and we get to see the reason why AK Interactive is just so excited to talk about its third gen paint. That is, it doesn't have to talk anymore about this, what I presume is first generation effort. It's an acrylic based paint that has always separated very badly in the bottle right from the time I first got it. You can leave it for a couple of days and this is what you end up with. It basically makes the Ataka paint look like a simple task to mix. Because of these paints, I invested quite a while ago in an acrylic nail lacquer shaker I picked up off eBay. I can't remember the exact price, but it was around the $40 to $50 price here in Australia. With this contraption, you rest the paint on top of the shaker, tie the paint down with the adjustable rubber band, and then watch it bounce around your table. It certainly gets the job done for the most part, but my FOMO said I needed to try the Vortex style shakers that all the cool kids are using on YouTube. Okay, so there was a lot of video recorded for this review, and I won't bore you with all of it because, frankly, an awful lot of it was me just looking at paint mixing. Generally speaking, for the Ataka paints, I like to mix them on the shaker machine for about 2 minutes or so before I start painting with them. More stubborn paints might require a minute or two more. The Vortex shaker worked well with these, and I found by the 2 minute mark they'd basically mixed as good as they were going to get and were quite usable. In the interest of science, I did go ahead and mix the same paint for a total of 6 minutes total, with a pause at the 4 minute mark to see if the extra time improved things, but basically there was no difference at the 4 or 6 minute mark from how the paint looked after the first 2 minutes. In fact, I probably could have stopped before the first 2 minute mark as the Vortex mixer does work well with these paints. So now on to the real test. The AK Interactive acrylic paints I was talking about earlier. I wasn't expecting miracles with this paint set as it's always been pretty bad if I'm honest. What I was hoping is I could get the paint usable in less time than the paint shaker, and that I did. Because these are more separated, I had to put in some extra time, but by the 3 minute mark or so, the paint had mixed about as well as it was going to get. That kind of makes these paints usable, but I'm sure many modelers would have thrown this set out a long time ago. I'm just too cheap to do that, and I always find a purpose for them. Time-wise, I was definitely seeing a time saving over the paint shaker. I'd say on these more stubborn paint examples, the Vortex mixer was a quarter to a third faster at mixing the paints. I know that's not a very scientific measurement, but basically you're going to save time. I can well imagine on paints that require less mixing the convenience of having the Vortex and just popping the paint on the machine for a few seconds before you start doing your work would be really handy. So there is no argument from me the Vortex is a time saver when it comes to mixing paints. That said, I can't say I really like the Vortex shaker that much. For one thing, it sends an awful lot of vibration into your hand and wrist, which I'm not sure is a good thing when some of us modelers are getting a little bit older and perhaps a bit more fragile. Now maybe I'm being a bit of a wallflower about this and it won't bother you, but the second reason I prefer my old mixer is a more practical one. To use a Vortex shaker, you have to be present. That is, you have to hold the paint on the mixer for as long as it takes for the paint to mix. With my old style paint shaker, I can strap it on and then do other tasks. For example, I can start mixing the paint and then get ready preparing my spray booth, getting the compressor pressure set up, and all the other things I do when I'm pretending I know what I'm on about. By the time I have all that sorted, the paint is usually mixed and ready to go. So for me at least, and how I work, there isn't really a time saving there. Of course, if you work with paints that don't need a lot of mixing, or maybe you're just a brush painter and just want to get on with it, the Vortex mixer might still be the better choice. So what do you think? Do you have a Vortex shaker and you like it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.